Coming up on Network Africa, the United Nations warns of a worsening humanitarian situation in Sudan, with further heavy rain and flooding expected. In defiance of federal authority, polls open for elections in Tigray region in northern Ethiopia. Plus, self-declared Republic of Somaliland opens a representative office in Taiwan. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Sudan, where the United Nations is warning of a worsening humanitarian situation as a result of unending heavy rains that have led to flooding, loss of lives and properties. Further rains are expected in the coming days, according to authorities. The government has already declared a state of emergency, and the UN says the supplies needed to respond to the crisis are running out. Weeks of torrential downpours have led to flooding in all but one of Sudan's 18 states. More than 500,000 people have already been affected and thousands have been displaced. Torrential rains are also causing flooding across the Sahel region of Africa. Meanwhile, the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, is providing 100 metric tons of relief material to people across Sudan who have been devastated by the flooding, including internally displaced persons, refugees, and Sudanese citizens. The material includes blankets, plastic sheets, and sleeping mats. The United Arab Emirates also donated the airlift to speed up UNHCR's distribution of shelter material and other non-food items to various locations, including Darfur and Khartoum. Heavy seasonal rains have caused flash floods and rivers to burst their banks, including the Nile in the capital Khartoum and its twin city of Omdurman, and affected thousands of internally displaced persons, refugees, and host communities in Sudan. UNHCR said many of those affected had been previously displaced by conflict and were already facing loss of income due to the economic challenges related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now they are struggling to meet even their most basic needs. Well, let's get more on the situation in Sudan. Naba Muhyiddin, VOA's correspondent in Khartoum, joins us now for more on this story. Thank you, Naba, for speaking to us. I hope this flood situation is not affecting you.
Actually, it's affecting everyone. Besides the most affected areas, people who lost their lives, lost their houses, and the shelters, it's also affecting the main roads, bridges, and it's affecting the power and internet supply. It's affecting the market. There is not enough fuel and the roads are not okay, so people can deliver the goods to the market. So it's shocking the already overwhelmed economic situation, and it's affecting the whole country.
It is quite a sad development. I mean, many have lost loved ones and their properties. But what relief efforts are being taken by the government at this time to help these people, aside from that from the United Nations?
The government said it's allocated $2.7 million, which is 15 million Sudanese pounds, to help people who lost their shelters and for emergency due to the emergency situation. There is not enough effort. Besides, there is not enough budget, as already there is a lot of challenges due to the COVID-19 and to the crazy increasing of the foreign currency compared to the Sudanese pound. So right now there is only $2.7 million for the emergency situation.
Yeah, and authorities also say there's heavy rains to come. There's more to come. Are there plans in place to prepare for this?
Actually, yes, a new rainy season is expected to affect Sudan, to affect Khartoum, White Nile State, Blue Nile State, and the south of northern state. The plans are not very clear, but the government said it will focus on the health situation for the expected diseases out of the rainy season, as cholera, malaria, typhoid. So the plans are already only for evacuation of the affected areas and for the health system only.
All right then, Naba Muhyiddin, thank you for bringing us up to speed in Sudan. VOA's correspondent in Khartoum, Naba Muhyiddin. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, back here in Nigeria, the flood impact is very evident. The death toll has risen to 27 after 6 more people drowned in Garki and Rigim local councils in JIGAWA State, northwestern region. Some of the deaths occurred after mud houses fell as a result of the recent downpour.
The prediction by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency is gradually becoming a reality in JIGAWA State. Streets flooded, houses partially submerged, while some are already collapsed. Schools and farmlands have been overtaken by floods in Maruta, a community in Gwaram local government area. Many residents have fled their homes to seek refuge in areas spared by the waters. 8 of the rooms in my house have been destroyed, and everywhere in the town is flooded. I and 16 of my children don't have anywhere to go except for this place. Ganza town in Buji local government is another facing the same devastation. Residents here use carts as transportation, while children, oblivious of the extent of devastation, convert this body of water to a swimming pool.
We woke up, actually, we experienced the same thing last year. Here there was a flood. This road was actually, blocked by rain. You cannot pass with a vehicle. You have seen it now. And now from the northern part, there is flood. This road you cannot pass with any vehicle now. What we normally do now is to come and park our vehicle there. Then the truck will, the cow, plow truck, will be used to cross. And then thereafter, when we finish what we are doing, we go and do the same, and then we use our vehicle back. But we cannot reach our offices with any vehicle now.
Governor Badaru Abubakar sympathizes with the victims, with 51,000 houses affected.
In some cases, it's not about flooding, but heavy rainfall that destroyed the mud houses that our people have, and that has been the trend this year. And I think even our estimate of 51 houses is based on the towns that we have been. I'm sure by the time they come back from the fact-finding mission and go around the whole of the state, we will get the exact number.
Flooding has become perennial in JIGAWA State, but this year's incident has surpassed the prediction, a situation which has pushed the victims to further appeal for government to do more.
People have been voting in a local election in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, defying the federal government order. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, which dominated Ethiopian politics for decades, has warned that any intervention by the federal government would amount to a declaration of war. They objected to the postponement of the national and regional elections originally scheduled for August because of the coronavirus pandemic. The Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, has downplayed the significance of the polls, saying the TPLF has an extended mandate to stay in power, according to a decision by Ethiopian Upper House of Parliament in June. Polling stations are expected to close at 6 p.m. local time, and results are expected to be announced on Thursday if counting ends according to plan. Well, joining us now for more on this is Brooks Abdu. He's an Ethiopian journalist in Addis Ababa. Hello, Brooks. Thank you for speaking to us on the program. Just talk to us how important this vote is and what has been the conduct so far.
Thank you very much for inviting me to speak about the Tigray election on this program, Lio. Well, the Tigray regional state is holding its 6th national regional election currently. So today they have been going to the polling stations. Around 2.3 million people have been registered to cast their votes in this regional election. So largely the assumption is that the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, that is the party, the leading party in the region, is going to have the upper hand in the election. So this party was an influential party in the EPRDF coalition that ruled Ethiopia before Prime Minister Abiy came to power and dismantled the party, the coalition. So this election actually is perceived to set a new record in the Ethiopian federalism, as it might help extend the level of right that regional states have in the Ethiopian Federation. But on the other hand, some fear that it might also loosen the national unity and the national integrity of the country, as this election is being held in defiance to the decision of the federal government to postpone the national elections that were slated for late August 2020.
Yes, like you rightly said, Brooke, this election is going on in defiance of federal authority. What is the implication of this election to the country's democracy?
So, because of the threat of the pandemic, the House of the Federation gave the government the right to extend its power, both the legislative and the executive branches. So this election of Tigray is being held in defiance to this decision, and some people view it as an exercise to the democratic rights of the people, and a stand to the principle that people should not be led by a government that is not elected. So some people view it as a good milestone for the country's democracy, as it stands for the principle that people should always be ruled by parties or political groups that they elect. So the implication of this election, on the other hand, is that this might loosen the national unity, because the decision of the federal government is not being respected in the regional government. So this might also be an example for other regional states to defy the decisions of the federal government.
All right, Brooks, just before I let you go, we know that there has been this feud between Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the ruling party concerning the Tigray region, and it's raising fears of military confrontation and even a breakup of Ethiopia. How serious is this threat of secession in the country?
Actually, the confrontation between the TPLF and the new administration that's being led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed began from the early stages of him coming to power. So the first issue for them is his decision to dismantle the EPRDF coalition that the Tigrayan ruling party, that is the TPLF, has been in control for more than 25 years. So because of that, there has been tit for tats between the two groups, between Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and the regional officials of Tigray, as well as party officials of TPLF. So many people have been expressing their fear that this might lead to military confrontation and even a breakup of Ethiopia. A very recent report by the International Crisis Group also indicated that this might lead to a military confrontation between the federal government and the Tigrayan regional state. But actually, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has assured that he will not consider military actions by any means. So it's very little probable that there is going to be military confrontation between the two, between the federal government and the regional government of Tigray. But some also fear that this might also lead to a breakup of Ethiopia, because some see that Abiy Ahmed standing against the election or opposing the election that's being held in Tigray as standing against democratic rights and exercising democracy in the country.
All right then, Brooks Abdu, the Ethiopian journalist, thank you for speaking to us on the program. Still ahead on the program. With ice skating in Egypt's scorching heat, a hockey team eyes both local and international recognition. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. A senior executive of South Africa's beauty company Clicks has resigned after protests against the racist advert that led to the closure of 400 outlets. The executive was reportedly part of the team behind the hair advert that sparked outrage for unfavorably comparing white hair to black hair. The company on Tuesday won an interim interdict against the opposition Economic Freedom Fighters Party after its leader called for the closure of all outlets for 5 days. The interdict stops the party from intimidating and threatening Clicks, employees and customers. However, the company announced that all stores would remain closed on Wednesday. Local media reports that Clicks had taken off the shelves products by Tresemme brand, whose shampoo advert caused the outrage. A special court in Sierra Leone has rejected a bid by convicted former Liberian President Charles Taylor to be moved from a British prison, citing coronavirus risk. AFP news agency reports that Mr. Taylor had said the coronavirus pandemic in the UK was a big threat to his life and wanted to be moved to a safe third country. The residual special court for Sierra Leone said he had not specified which countries he considered safe and that the World Health Organization had not declared any country safe from COVID-19. Taylor was sentenced to 50 years in prison by a UN-backed war crimes court at The Hague. He was found guilty of aiding and abetting rebels in Sierra Leone during the 1991 to 2002 civil war. The UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, says it is working closely with Congolese authorities and international partners to ensure the safety of Dr. Denis Mukwege, the Nobel laureate in Congo. In a virtual press briefing, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says MONUSCO remains committed to the security of Dr. Mukwege and the Panzi Clinic in the eastern DRC. In recent times, the United Nations says Mukwege's life was in danger after he and his family received death threats via social media and by phone.
The UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC remains committed to the security of Dr. Mukwege and the Panzi Clinic in the eastern DRC. Although a number of COVID cases among our peacekeepers have had an operational impact, we have continued to work closely with Dr. Mukwege and the Congolese authorities, as well as international partners, to ensure his security needs and those of the clinic are addressed in an effective and sustainable manner. This approach requires us to continue developing greater local capacity among national police with support from the mission and other international partners. The personal security of Congolese personalities is a responsibility of the national authorities, but the UN peacekeeping mission is providing all possible support within its limited means.
The self-declared Republic of Somaliland has opened a representative office in Taiwan. At a ceremony at the island nation's capital in Taipei, Somaliland Representative Mohamed Hagi says the bilateral accord between Somaliland and Taiwan is based on common values of freedom and democracy. Mr. Hagi met the Taiwanese Foreign Minister Joseph Wu on Tuesday ahead of the launch. In August, Taiwan opened its own office in Hagesia. The two breakaway regions announced diplomatic relations in July, shrugging off furious protests from both China and Somalia.
Whatever country that they want to establish relations with, Somaliland is independent. So from Somaliland perspective, we're independent. We are happy to make relations with Taiwan and other countries to build economic relations. So it's nothing bad. But there's no any threat to China. Relations of Somaliland and Taiwan. Really.
The government of Zimbabwe has banned with immediate effect all mining in the Hwange National Park in the west of the country. 2 Chinese companies had been granted licenses to explore for coal inside Zimbabwe's biggest game reserve, home to more than 40,000 elephants, as well as black rhinos, lions, and many other species. But conservationists had filed an urgent application arguing that any type of mining posed an acute risk of irreversible ecological degradation and could kill the country's tourism industry. Now, as we end the program today, how would you like to ice skate in Egypt's scorching heat? Members of an Egyptian ice hockey team is seeking local and international recognition as they practice their favorite hobby despite its unpopularity in the country. Now, this is a very rare sport in Egypt, but for these players, they are hanging on to their passion for the sport.
The idea of having a national ice hockey team seems ludicrous to many, except for a handful of skaters seeking domestic and international recognition for their team. Player and one of the leaders of Egypt's ice hockey team, 32-year-old Mahmoud Ghanem, is one of 20 skilled players hoping to bring hockey to Egypt's largely warm climate, following the footsteps of other Arab countries taking similar initiatives.
People wonder how we play this sport in a country that is mainly desert. But this has nothing to do with it. Many Arab countries now have leagues and federations that participate in championships.
An increasingly popular sport in the Middle East, ice hockey is practiced in several Arab countries that have teams registered with the International Ice Hockey Federation, a dream that is yet to come true for Egypt ice hockey. The latest Middle Eastern countries to join the IIHF were Algeria, Lebanon and Iran, all of which joined in 2019, bringing the total number of IIHF member national associations to 81. Despite its perseverance, Egypt's hockey team faces many challenges that stand in the way of recognition. With the lack of ice rinks in sports clubs and the high cost of equipment, few players practice the winter sport in Egypt. There are other challenges the players face.
There are no resources. We pay from our own pockets to rent a rink. The cost is too much. There are also uniforms. The cost is very high, adding taxes and whatnot. So not everyone can pay this much. Only those who are capable continue to play.
Egypt Ice Hockey have played a total of 3 tournaments since they founded their team in 2015. They've played in Morocco, the UAE and Kuwait. The ambitious team is in close contact with Egypt's Ministry of Youth and Sport in a bid to help them establish a national federation that can compete internationally in the upcoming Winter Olympics. For now, the players have to make do with their passion for the sport.
And that's where we end Network Africa today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.